Through a camera's fine. area. Best shots are gone. there's a few stragglers. I'll make sure that we have everyone on board. Yes. Is it cold water? Is there cold? Yes, there is water on the bus. There's always water on the buses. Yes.
When you're ready, you bring water up.
Pardon me?
When you're ready, we want some water there.
You want water in the back? Yeah.
When you're ready.
Okay.
Smile.
As we get going here, I want to take an attendance so we can make sure that everyone
Is really candy camera.
is here.
Come on, Bruce.
And Bruce, we're not going without Bruce.
All people are getting better.
The logical team that works on that dig will have to complete as much as they possibly can with the limited funds that they have. Generally, that will last about 5 years. Usually when they're fundraising for an archaeological dig, they're asking to be funded for those 5 years. And in those 5 years, what they're basically looking for are, number one, fortifications. How did the city fortify itself in the times that it existed? Another major focus will be on how they got their food, how they got their water particularly. So they're looking for a water source. They'll also be looking for gates. That's part of the fortification system. To see what kind of fortification, and more important, what kind of gates they had into the city, because it also dates in terms of the history and what we've learned from other digs. It tells you a lot about the technology of the ancient cities just by knowing how they arranged their entrances and their exits from the city. They also look for their ritual places. Places that either they worshipped idols, or in the case of many of the cities here in Israel, and particularly during the periods of David and Solomon, to look for places where there would have been a monotheistic orientation as opposed to a pagan or idol-worshipping. And remember that in Israel, in the land of Canaan, there was much more idol-worshipping going on here than monotheism for literally thousands of years before the Israelites. And a number of sites will include those, Megiddo being one of them. Another area that they might look for would be palaces. These are all the extras after, if they've actually found all of these things within 5 years, and maybe they'll stumble on a palace. Maybe they'll find out a little bit more about how the residential area was compared to the public area, how other things that made the city unique. All of these kinds of things they would find. But most important is that fortification. And if they don't find it, and unfortunately there have been stories about archaeologists who have come to Israel, have searched for these items, and sometimes never found them. And even after 5 years, their whole archaeological expedition has become a failure. And to get funding, again, for an archaeological dig like that is very unlikely. So that has happened many times throughout the course of archaeological history. And archaeological history itself is very short. Within the last 70, 80 years, it really has become a science. The early days of archaeology would have found individual wealthy, particularly British people who would be coming here and would be haphazardly digging at sites, would steal lots of antiquities that are today sitting on the mantelpiece in somebody's home in London. Could be the missing link that we're looking for. We'll never know about it. Go check them out, okay? Don't let them get away with it. So that really gives you just a... And once again, I just want to remind you that what we were talking about in Jaffa, and that is in your first class on archaeology, I'll call it the Archaeology 101 class that you had, that think of an archaeological tell as an onion. And each level that you're peeling off, more recent levels of... This way.
Looky here.
The earlier dig. Canaanites. You know what the Canaanites are? I mean, I keep referring to them, but
Came from the land of Canaan.
right. The land of Canaan was the name of this area during the period before the Israelites came here. When the Israelites came here, it became Judea and Samaria. But during the time before that, as the Israelites people, they were the Midianites, they were the Jebusites, they were all Canaanites. They lived in the lowlands. These are considered lowlands, as opposed to the mountain range on the other side of the Jordan River. That's where the Jews, the Israelites came from, right? They came out of the desert, and they marched through the lands of the Horites and the Edomites, and I went through this list the other day, and these people, the Horites, Edomites, Ammonites, Amorites, all lived in mountains. As a matter of fact, there's a theory, and for those who are not biblically oriented, the theory is that the Israelites were a combination of Horites and all of those people who they picked up along the way after leaving Egypt, and then had to confront the people who were settled in the valleys here, and they were the Canaanites. And that a mixture of different traditions of those different peoples are what form the Jewish religion of today. All of these various legends and mythologies, as well as the belief in monotheism. I mean, after all, we can even trace monotheism to a certain...
Turn around for a sec.
1 sec.
Here are the northern states.
Rega.
These are, and again, just want to remind you that these perfect squares are only perfect because this is where the archaeology is dug, not because those are walls. However, you do see where the walls are. When you see the stone, there, the gridiron system was going on. Anyway, this is where the northern stables were, and they would have kept their chariots here.
Good shots.
Excellent, Seth.
Okay, right down the road there, Armageddon.
You're the only one that's...
Either the north or over the course of history, the two large cultures that were constantly battling with each other existed in the north and in the south. The south was always constant, it was always Egypt. In the north, it was changing. Sumerians, destruction, all of those different times that I was mentioning before. Also, as we look out in the valley, we can remember the stories of Judges. These are the battles that Deborah had and Barak against the Canaanites. This is where Gideon fought against the Midianites. For those of you who are not familiar with the story of Gideon, it's one of my favorite stories. This is this schlumpy character who lived out here in the valley. And constantly, the Midianites would invade these various communities. And God comes to Gideon and he says, hey Gideon, you're going to lead the mighty Israelites into battle against the Midianites. And Gideon says, me? I think you got the wrong guy. I'm a little schleppy. I got a little bit of that handles around my... I can't even do a push-up. I'm not the guy. You need a young, vibrant... No. God says it's because you're a schlump that I'm going to choose you. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell everybody about it, publicize it all over the valley, and I want you to select an army. But the way you're going to do it is going to be very interesting. You're going to go to the foothills of Mount Gilboa. That's Mount Gilboa right out there. And there you're going to tell people to drink the water of the springs of Harod. And those who get down on their knees and drink the water, you don't want them. They're potential idol worshippers. Those that get down on their belly and lap the water, you don't want them. There's no humility there. You want the guys who get down on their belly, cup the water, and bring it to their lips. Gideon says, okay, this is your test. I'll bring them out. Thousands apply for the army that day. They all go to the springs of Harod, and everybody gets on their knees. The other ones just lap it up like a dog. 300 passed the test. Gideon says, I think we made a big mistake. Let's take the idol worshippers. No, says God, you're not going to get away with this. We are going to make an army of 300, and we are going to scare the daylights and kill the Midianites and get them out of this valley. So Gideon takes these 300 warriors. God whispers the plan in his ear, and on the big night that it all happens, Gideon calls his army together, his 300, middle of the night. Midianites are camped between those two mountains. The one on the right that's jagged is Givat HaMoreh. The one on the left that's nice and rounded is Mount Tabor. And in the middle, the Midianite camps. The middle of the night. Gideon and his 300 come out on Givat HaMoreh. They've all lit torches, but they've covered it in urns. Clay urns. They creep down the mountain. Gideon gives the signal. They begin shouting and screaming, and they smash these urns, and the lights all of a sudden appear everywhere. The Midianites are so frightened that they run from Givat HaMoreh between Mount Tabor, and at least this is the story that's told in the Bible, and they never would have problems from the Midianites in this valley again. Of course, by the time the story is over, Gideon takes full credit for it. But then again, this is the Bible, and these are real people, right? Right here, this is Nazareth Bridge, and the city of Nazareth is right smack in the middle where you see that's what you see. Anyway, that's Nazareth. This would have been the valley. That was exactly why it happened. It wouldn't be unusual. Yeah, that's why I even mentioned it when we were at the model, that it wouldn't be unusual to see that various cults or religions, even Judaism, would have built on the same spot, because it's not even strategic. It's much as saying, basically, my God's stronger than your God. And this is it. Oh yeah, they knew what was here, and they were replacing it. Why is it? It's not. It shouldn't be a surprise to any of you that when we get to Jerusalem, we look at the Temple Mount where the temple once stood. The first temple, the second. See,
So there's a
everything has a price. Last night's dessert was delicious, right?
Oh my God, was that right?
Wendy was pretty crazy about it.
Yeah. I like little
Wouldn't it have been more likely the way it had conditions of famine or lack of rain for a period of time that would cause the demand for grain?
Well, that certainly would be another addition to the importance of having this kind of grain silo. But I think that when I look at Megiddo, I think that all decisions we make here are a seed mentality. Military and seed.
What kind of grain?
They grew corn. They grew not corn. Excuse me. Barley, wheat. They still are growing barley. Okay, this way. And we continue on to the water system. There were bones that were discovered here in the Schumacher expedition, which were down over here.
Gotta film this, you know.
Imagine how high it would be if this was alive.
The next tour is the kids are off school. Right. You could have watched it in Haifa. Oh, sorry. The kids are
Make it keep you alert. I had to give it up.
Like,
I guess 15 years ago.
yeah.
I'm serious.
So it was highly recommended.
Sorry.
I'm gonna get you when you come out of the tunnel too, you know. Maybe you'll be wetter.
Oh, it's
T-shirt.
that way.
That's very good, Vanna White.
They had some nice ones.
HLS. And then you'll hear voices with nothing.
Yeah, it'd be dark.
Or there's still light coming through. Honey? Wanted to see who'd look. Can't believe the low light lux. It looks like it's so bright in here. You would think it's a ballroom with the low light lux on this camera. It's so bright. In the viewfinder, it's brighter than in this room. As we enter the
Ropes and baskets.
another 89 steps to go.
You counting?
Yeah. Usually step. 82, 81, 80.
How many are those together?
183. I knew it took. How many my cameras are flash?
How much stuff here?
Yeah, it's funny. I could see these steps. There's 2 steps right here.
Thank you.
Probably took about 2 decades. It's 55 degrees in here. Did you guys ever go spelunking?
I've been in caves, but never spelunking.
They call it spelunking, going in a cave. Some people call it caving.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken tours. I haven't done like on my own.
I had the fortune or misfortune of being convinced
To do it?
And the water will follow along this aquiclude until it finds an aquifer and it'll come out. If the aquiclude runs deep into the core of the earth, it'll heat it up. And it'll come, and when it does find its way out onto the surface, it'll come out as a hot spring.
We like them.
Most of the time, it won't. It'll come out as a cold spring. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of grapes in it, and you'll get a little carbonated spring. But this is the way the springs work. Now this, where we are right now, is a spring. Why is it that the water is not penetrating through the rock here? I mean, if I'm telling you that this is all an aquifer, why isn't there water here? And the reason for this is that the scientists of Megiddo, the archaeologists, purposely closed off the ways in which water would seep in. Not all water, some of it is runoff and it does fill, and it comes in here. In a very heavy rainy season, we close the tunnel because you can't walk through it. But most of the year, the natural spring that would have normally fed this is blocked up, except some water comes in. That's why you only see a little puddle here. But this is where the source of water would have been. Now, in certain periods of season, when there was no chance of being attacked by an enemy, the women, and this is a woman's job, women got the water. So the women would come through this entrance, a secret entrance, come down here and fill their urns, go back up here, and then trek up to Megiddo. In great rainy seasons, when the tunnel would fill with water, it would also reach the pit that we came down. And it might even fill it to some degree where they didn't have to go all the way through here, and they could fill their urns that way and climb out the other way. But in dry seasons, it was a lot of painstaking work to get the water from the spring.
Would they have a system of like ropes and jars instead of having to haul?
Possibly, I don't know.
Okay.
I know that the job would have been hard work, and it would have been carrying these urns. Possibly, if they could figure out the building of a tunnel like this, it's reasonable to assume that they would have also figured, because pulleys were there. And so the question is, did they use them? And I hope that they would have.
With an urn,
Right.
climbing up a ladder or a rope or something.
I would assume so, but I can't give you any definite on that. Okay? And, yeah, the line, you can see already where these lines represent water levels of this particular spring. Okay, everybody, we're going to be walking up this way, and as you continue down the path, the bus will be out there waiting for us.
Before attending Israel,
to learn that it's not very often that you see friends, and so you want to treat them well. Well, you would design your home, leave their tents and enter homes and build homes for themselves. They would also include within their homes one large room where many guests could be entertained, and you wouldn't have to turn anybody away based on the fact that you have no room. And if someone was coming to visit someone else's tent, what they would do is they would come and they would spend 3 days there before they would even get to the information that they came for or the reason that they came. That was translated as time went on into the concept of coffee and hospitality. This is Fuad, everybody. This is our host. The concept of Fuad's just getting himself ready here, and then he'll come in. But the coffee, the idea of coffee, replaced these 3 days because each time that in the tradition of the desert, you would say, well, let me tell you what I came for. I came to borrow a cup of sugar. You say, I don't want to hear about it. You're staying for 3 days. You're going to have meals with us. But on the third day, if you don't tell him what your point is, get out. Get lost. The concept of coffee really replaced that in the lives of Arabs particularly, and even in the Druze life. And what they would do is offer you 3 half cups of coffee. half cup because each half cup would tell you that, hey, there's more inside and I want you to stay, so, drink more. There's more to come. If they offered you a full cup of coffee, it would say, drink this and get out. I don't have time for you. If they offer you a full cup of sweet coffee, and you'll see that the coffee is not going to be that sweet. If they offer you sweet coffee, they're saying to you, listen, drink up. I have to be hospitable to you, but I got to tell you something, that once you walk out of here, I don't want to have any responsibility for your health.
Shalom. You welcome today, you come to Israel. And you come to visit in my family, but the Druze people here. And I am very happy to come to Israel. And you want to know something? The Druze here and Jewish, this is a friend and brother. And the Druze work together, Jewish and the Druze work together, service and army together, help together. And I am very happy. And this is, I hope so, more 120 years altogether, the Druze and Jewish. Amen. Amen. And what I want to tell you something, the Israeli people, this is very, very strong. And I am hope so, when you come back to America, tell for every people in the American people, or Jewish people, to come into Israel, not afraid. This is here nothing, only the television, she make it all the problem. This is the CNN. Leave the CNN. This is not for you. This is here, you come to Israel, you can eat, you travel, and Israeli, I am tell you again, very, very strong army and very strong people here. And you will come. I am very happy to come into Israel every year here, and you will come. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Questions? What you like, what you drink it here. This is the name Druze coffee. This is little strong, but one time you can try, okay? Yes. Very nice, you're welcome.
Okay, let's get to some of the questions that you, yes?
Do they intermarry? I mean,
Do they intermarry at all?
yes.
מתחתנים עם אלה שיהודים או נוצרים.
דוד, אתה יודע שמי שמתחתן מבחוץ הוא חייב לעזוב את הכפר, וזה, אתה יודע, הדת זה...
There's a law that if you intermarry, you're going to have to leave the village. And there are, obviously, over the years, there have been Jews who have married Jews or Christians, and they've had to leave.
Where do they go then?
To Haifa, to Tel Aviv, they could go in other communities.
America.
And you're a Jew. Watch yourself. Okay. This way, everyone. This way. This way, this way.
Okay.
Come on. This way. Come. Watch yourself.
I'm a trained professional.
Είναι τελείω φόκου. Inside,
Either a football.
and on Saturday, it's only playing for Canesi telefono, sto che sono che c'è di mesi. Io studio, io ho comprato
Really? What are they doing here?
נו מהר, Okay. Thank you. I give you this.
Better.
If you find that it's too crowded in his store, come and eat.
This is the falafel experience.
What are you gonna have to drink?
Is he gonna make a falafel for us?
What do you want to?
So they were doing the canal ride. They said that's what we wanted to do. So we were on our own. It was kind of intriguing getting around and everything. We got back, we got to take. I don't think that's legitimate complaint. The Globe still sends us stuff. Once you're on a list, you're never off it. I thought you were the other part.
That's the burial with that gold dome.
Yes,
down there.
okay, so the temple itself and the burial spot for the Bahá'u'lláh is right here under that dome in that what looks like a temple. And it is to some degree, but it's not really it's not like a church or a mosque, although you must take your shoes off if you go inside, and they pray in there, and they do pray around the tomb, but it's very small inside. It's much more beautiful from the outside. It is a gold, the plates on the top of the gold dome. It's plated gold, and each one of those gold plates are worth about $100. So it is a very expensive rooftop. The marble that the building is built out of, gorgeously carved. And then you can see all of the gardens perfectly trimmed. It really is a beautiful area, and it goes all the way down from
Where they come to study and learn, or
no,
somewhere?
down here. You see the green rooftop? There's the that's the library. And then there's even another building that you don't see from here that is a little bit hidden on this side as well.
How long has this been in existence?
The Baha'i, since 1860s, the Baha'is arrived here, and they gardens. Now, only recently have they renovated all of these gardens all the way up to the country.
Right.
These are not people who live here and make a living here.
And they dress
so
like
they donate. They make donate a center. How they're making a living outside, they could be anything. As you look beyond the temple, I want to tell you a little bit about Haifa. You see all those red rooftops
Yes.
down? German colony of Haifa, a very important spot. This was one of the, so is an area where German Templars had settled, back in the 1920s for homes, and they lived there. During the years right before World War II, their sympathies began to our enemy, towards the Germans, and many of them left here. And but they left us this period. It's interesting that Adolf Eichmann had come here during the 1930s, early 1930s, and it spread something a little bit of Hebrew.
What was stating his escape route to Argentina?
In the port area, you can see the three areas really. There's the naval part, and you can see naval boats. Our Navy, Israeli Navy, you'll find positioned in Haifa, in Ashdod, and also in Eilat. Most of our ships are small ships and fast ships. The most important task that they have in front of them is to try to hermetically seal our coastline, which is impossible, but they do it with fast boats, and they do a good job about it. The ships that you see them using are small patrol boats, and very similar to what I would consider the U.S. Coast Guard in terms of the size. There's no aircraft that we hear those containers are, where most of the goods that are coming into Israel by sea will come through. And then you have the shipyards that are repairing vessels that are in need of repair. This is a port of the 6th Fleet of the U.S. Navy, and for that reason, there's a lot of revenue that comes into this port when the 6th Fleet docks here, and there's a lot of repairs to be done. And not to mention the fact that that town begins to swing as you see the U.S. Navy descend on Haifa. There's also cruise lines. I'm beginning to see more and more of them over the course of the last 4 years, almost virtually stopped the cruise ships into Haifa. Today, Mediterranean cruising. The white building, that large white building that you see out there, is a wheat exchange building, and this is where all the wheat that you see being grown that we ship out of the country will be shipped from. When you get closer to it, and you see billions of birds flying, you'll realize this must be the place where all the grain is. The large building that you see out here is very strange. Beautiful to is if you look out to the
What are you doing over here?
that's the Rambam.
Over there.
I was talking to that lady.
The most important of all of our hospitals is the Rambam, and it is probably